Welcome back. I am going to try to solve some chess puzzles today over on chess.com. Feel free to come along with me and point out anything that I missed, or hopefully you'll learn something from this too. I am playing with the black pieces. I have a check here. It looks like the knight would just capture that. My queen is in trouble right now, so maybe I should consider that. Let's see, if the knight captures that, I don't really have a good follow-up check. I also have a check here now, which I think that has to be it. Yeah, okay, I'll check on the back rank because I think they'll be forced to take there, and then I'd follow with my queen. There's nothing else that they can do there, so that is a checkmate. I'm going to suggest the theme of mate in 2 and go on to the next puzzle. As always, if you're not aware, I do link to all the puzzles that I solve in each video in the description, in case you would like to work on those same puzzles as well, especially the ones that I missed. I figured those are the most important ones. The ones that I get right, I tend to explain them as I'm solving them. A few of you viewers have asked for me to link to the puzzles in the description, so I have done that. I've been doing that for a few months, but I don't often mention it. I usually forget. Okay, we do have a passed pawn here, but do we have a check? I have a couple of checks, but that's a check too. This is a check. Is that better? I think that's better. I think the bishop capturing on f7 is better than the others, and the reason is because the others I don't think lead to a mate. This leads to my king getting captured, my queen getting captured. I do have a follow-up check, but then that would get captured too, and then I have a follow-up check, but then that would get captured too. I did get the colors mixed up there, my apologies. But I think the bishop capturing here, it's the most forcing for one thing. They only have one legal move. Then I would check here. Their only legal move would be to drop back to block with the rook, and then I would capture. Let me keep the colors more consistent. Bishop captures f7. The king can't move. Oh no, the king could take. The king could take. The rook doesn't have to take. Okay. I was thinking that the rook would take, but it might not. If the rook takes, I think I have a mate here because when the rook goes back to block, I capture there and that's mate. But what if the king takes? Do I still have a mate there? I think I would, because I think I would capture here on h7, and my rook's cutting off all of these escape squares. The king would have to go to one of those two squares, and then I would just go over here where I'd be protected by my rook. King would be, I think that would result in, that's a forced mate either way, I think. Let me follow that out. If the king takes, which I think is their better move. Check. King has to go back. King went back. I would go here. Oh, wow, that gets complicated because then the king would go over. Then I would go here. King would come up. Then I would go here, and then the king would go out, and it might get away. Maybe that's not it. But it looks like if the king takes, it's going to be complicated, and I'm probably going to have to think each one of those moves separately instead of trying to figure them all out from here. But that has to be the best. Okay. Sigh of relief. It was the best. Okay, now again, I don't think it's this check because we just lose that, and then I'm not going to want to take that because the king is still guarding it. I think it has to be capturing the pawn on h7 because there's no way to block that. The king can't run over here because of my rook. And also from there, my queen would be guarding these squares and this one. So the king would only have two choices. No. Wow. The rook is there. It wouldn't have that choice. See? Well, that threw me off. That's because when I first envisioned taking here with the bishop, I thought that the rook would take, so the rook wouldn't be there. But then I forgot if the king took here, the rook still would be there. Okay, this leaves the king only one choice, which is here. And then that's mate. Yeah, it definitely helps me sometimes if I'm pretty sure that the first move is right and I can't follow the rest out. It helps me to stop on the second move and follow it out from there, because once the position changes, and many of you are probably the same way, once the position changes, it's easier to see the follow-up move there. This one also did not have a theme. I'm going to suggest mate in 3. Oh wow, and I've only solved 2 puzzles in this video? Okay, well, I'm going slow today. Hopefully, they won't continue to be that slow. I'm playing with the black pieces. Okay, so I have 2 rooks and a knight, and they only have a queen, but they have a pawn that's about to promote with check. I could take their queen now, but that's not check. I think they would promote with check, and when I got out of check, they would then take my rook with their new queen. So I don't think that's it. Oh, I think it's just mate. Took me a while to see that because I was concerned about this pawn checking me. It wouldn't quite be checkmate, but it would be close. But yeah, and also I was distracted by the fact that I was able to take their queen, but it definitely wasn't the right answer. I think in a game, especially in a blitz or a bullet game, I would have just taken the queen, but then they would have promoted and taken my queen. I mean, my rook with their new queen. Okay, well I did get that. It does not have a theme. I'm going to add mate in 1. Okay, next. Oh, I'm playing with the white pieces. It always distracts me when there's a black piece closer to my side of the board. It makes me think that I'm playing with that color, but I am playing with this color. I do have some checks. I have a check there, safe checks there and there. I have a safe check back here, not to mention the unsafe checks there, there, and there, where the king could just take me. I am going to go ahead and discard those 3 without following them through, just because as a blanket statement, when the king recaptures, the opponent is still going to have a queen. They're still going to have a passed pawn. So I'm going to focus on this check, this check. See, I think I'm going to go ahead and discard this one too. I don't know. Should I discard that one offhand? I was going to because it looked like the king could just wander out of check pretty easily. But on all of those squares, I could check again. So that the fact that there are so many variations, so many possibilities makes this harder. Because from back here on A3, my queen will cut off those squares and my bishop is currently cutting off all of those squares. But that would leave 3 squares open for the king to move to. If it moved to D5, I could come down here and check again. Wait, never mind. I'm going to discard all of those because I missed this check right here. I think that's it. That's got to be it. And the only reason I saw it was because I was just about to discard this check, but I thought, wait, if the king went there, I could check again. But then I was thinking, wait, if the king went there, I could come up here and check. And then that's when I realized I could check there now and win their queen. Because I don't know where their king can go from there. Let's see, my queen would cut off these squares, my bishop's cutting off those, my king is cutting off this one. So the king would only have 2 choices, and then I would capture their queen. It has to be that. Because I don't think there's a mate here. Although I didn't follow all those other situations out. Maybe I should, because the king goes there. I could come over here, but yeah, there's no mate there. The king can keep running. I've got to win their queen. Okay, and it just stopped there, but is there a theme for skewer? I will look at the drop-down menu that you cannot see, but yes, there is a theme called skewer. Oh, I feel good. That puzzle's pass rate is only 18%. I don't care that I only got 5 points for it because it took me a while to solve it, but I'm one of just 18% of users who have solved that puzzle. Next. Okay, my queen is undefended. If I capture here, they're just going to capture back. And yes, I could check at that point, but then their king would get out. Or I could check now. If I checked now, and they didn't take, but the king moved out of check, I could check again back here on D5, going through that diagonal, but then the king would escape here. And I could check again, but I'm still leaving my rook down there facing off with their rook. Check again over here, and then the king would have to go back. And then I don't know what I would do at that point. Yeah, I don't think it's taking their queen just because we would come out even at that point. And they actually have a very mild majority of pawns over on the queen side. And we're even in pawns exactly symmetrical on the king side. It's not checking with the queen because they would take. And when I took back here, I would just have gone down a big exchange. So yeah, I'm definitely leaning toward this. It's not that either, I'm sure. Well, let's follow this. If I check with the rook, they don't have to run. They could. But they don't have to. What if they didn't run? What if they took my rook? If they took my rook, I would get their queen, and then I would have gone up the big exchange because they would have a rook and I would have a queen. Okay, so I don't think they would take my rook then because I would take their queen. So they would escape here. But then the question is, should I take their rook? I don't think so, because if I took their rook then, they would take my queen for free. So if I did this, and if they didn't take but ran away instead, I would want to move my queen to a more advantageous place. But I don't know where. Where would I move it? Because again, I could check again here. I think that's the only place I could check again safely. Okay, there just seems like there's a lot of options here, and I figured out what a couple of the bad ones are, but I don't know what the right one is. I don't know. I'm going to check them with my rook. Okay, I did all that extra calculation for nothing? Really? I did all that extra calculation of them saving that exchange for nothing when they could have just run with their queen. I mean, with their king. I have to go to the analysis board because that bugs me a little bit. I mean, thankfully I did end up getting it right, but okay. So rook to e1 was my best move, but surely it wasn't their best move to give up their queen here. It says it was. It says it would be much worse for them to go up. Why? Oh, I would win their queen either way. Well, no, wait. If I take their queen, wouldn't they just take mine? Oh, no. Here I would take their rook with my queen. And now if they took back, I'm left with a rook, so they would run away. They've lost their whole rook that way. The other way, they just went down the big exchange. Oh, wow. See, I completely missed that. I would have failed this puzzle. You see that, right? The puzzle went the wrong way because I had already calculated that if they took my rook, I would just go up the exchange, and that's what happened. But I assumed that they wouldn't do that. But yeah, if the king had come here, sorry, if I had checked down there and the king had moved up, I was going to check again right here, and I would have failed the puzzle. I think the puzzle went the wrong way because it would have been harder. It definitely would have been harder if I'd had to see that. And then their queen would have gone either to A4 or B3 or traded off. And all of those, it says, it's about the same. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I don't know that I would have seen that. Well, I got lucky on that one that it didn't go the harder way, because if it had gone the harder way, I would have missed it. Okay, well, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row in 18 minutes on my end, hopefully less on yours. Next puzzle. I think this is one of those smothered mate puzzles. I think it's the check back here with the knight to H3, because it's a double check. So the king would have to move over. Then I check in there with my queen. The rook has to take it, and then I put the knight back where it is now. Yeah. Oh, and I got it fast enough to get 14 points. Yeah, that's one of those that once you recognize that position, pretty easy to spot. Discovered check, double check, smothered mate. Yeah. Also mate in 1, 2, 3. I'm going to add mate in 3. Well, except for that rook down there that I got down there somehow, all of our pieces are on our own halves of the board, which is a little weird. All these pieces have stopped at the halfway point, and my pieces have stopped at the halfway point, but my rook's way down there. White pieces, that's me. Okay, I do have a check here. I also have a check down there. I think those are not my only 2 checks. I have a check with the pawn to F4. Are there any other checks I'm missing? I can't check with the pawn to H4 until that knight is moved. Okay, well, I'm going to eliminate them one by one, starting with the rook, which surprised me by being way down there. Rook captures G7 check, leaves the king 1 option, 2, nope, can't go there because the rook's covering that whole file. Pawn's covering this, pawn's covering this, pawn's covering this. The rook would be cutting off this whole file. That would force the king over to H5, and then would bishop here be checkmate? No, because the knight would block, wouldn't it? But then the bishop would capture there, protected by the rook, and that would be mate. That's not quite as many arrows as Hikaru had on God mode, or whatever he calls it, but I think there's only one legal move. Nobody can block, king has to go over. I could follow up check at that point with the bishop. Their only legal move at that point would be to block with the knight, in which case I would take with the bishop guarded by the rook, and that would be checkmate. No, it would not, because the knight wouldn't be there anymore, so the king would go back to H6, and then I would check over here on F5 with the knight, with my knight. Bishop would still be covering there. My knight would be covering the rook and the king's spot, and the rook would still be cutting off those. So that's a mate in 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's a mate in 4, if I remember the order of those moves. But it is forced. I believe each one of those there's only one legal move for the opponent. What about this? If I pull the knight down here, what legal moves does the king have? Well, it could come down there, and then I cannot check with that rook. In fact, I cannot check again other than moving the knight back where it is, so that's not good. Checking here I don't think is good because the pawn takes. I'm going to go with the rook. I'm not going to follow all these lines out because some of them are just more complicated, but this is very forcing. One legal move each, and it's a mate in 4. Well, it says mate in 3+. 4 is 3+. Okay, wow. That took a little while as well. But the rook being across midfield there, it kind of highlighted to me that it might be the rook. Otherwise, what's the rook doing down there? One of my devices has just notified me of something. I'll have to check on that. Next puzzle. Well, that left the knight hanging, so that's just a free piece. I don't know if that's part of the puzzle. It's not just a free piece. If I capture the knight on H5 with my queen, I'm threatening mate. Can they stop that mate? I don't think they could do anything to stop that mate. They could check me at that point, and I could move out of check. Then at that point they could take my rook, or they could capture my knight with their queen, but I would just take their queen with either one of my pieces that were right there. I think that's it. I'm threatening mate, and I don't think they can stop it. Oh, I calculated a little too far on that one. Well, some of these you don't know. Some of these, once you see that good first move, if you make that move, then there's another move after that because the opponent does something surprising, and then you just have to keep going. I'm not going to suggest a theme because, well, I am. I'm going to put hanging piece, but also there should be a theme like threatening checkmate. Is there something like that? Mating net? Not really. I don't think that's what you would call a net, is it? But I don't see like threatening checkmate. That's what I'm doing here. I'm threatening checkmate. Okay, next puzzle. I've just lost my queen. Is this an oh no, my queen moment? It might be, because I assume that this knight moved there intentionally, knowing that they could take my queen, and they did, and they shouldn't have. They should have done something else. Well, I have a check here, which forces the king to come up 1, and then that's mate. Knight to d5, because my knight on e5 guards that square, and my bishop would hit there, so that leaves the king only 1 legal move. And then knight taking the square that the bishop has just vacated on d5 would hit that square. And then, of course, the bishop pointing backward is hitting here. And my knight on d5 would be covering that square. So I think that would be mate. Okay, so checkmate in 2. Not listed for some reason. Mate in 2. Okay, I have time for 1 or 2 more, depending on how long it takes me to solve them. It's been taking me longer than it should have, apparently. Or time is running more quickly than it used to, which I've been told happens as you get older. And I am here to tell you from experience that that is true. As you get older, it seems like time passes more quickly. My guess is that's because each minute is a smaller fraction of your life than it used to be. Every day is a smaller fraction of your life than it used to be. There was a time in your life when 1 year was your entire life, and then the next year, a whole year was half your life. But now a year is such a tiny fraction of your life that a year doesn't seem like it's that long. All right, well, I have something. What is it? That's a hanging piece, but if I take it, they'll get my queen. So I'm going to guess I shouldn't take it with that pawn. If I take it with my rook, well, they wouldn't take back then, because then I would take their queen, and they would take my queen, and I would take their rook. So I think I should just take that piece. Hopefully that's right. Well, that was right. I don't know if you could see the themes here, but the theme is passed pawns. I want, just as a show of hands, how many people know how many passed pawns there are on the board right now? I'll tell you, there are 0 passed pawns on the board right now. Chess.com needs to hire an intern, possibly, and just go through every single puzzle. I know there's like 100,000 of them, maybe more. Just go through them one by one. Not all of them, just the ones that say passed pawns. And then look on the board and see if there's actually a passed pawn. It doesn't even have to be the theme of the puzzle. Just look on the board and see if there's a passed pawn. And if there's not, remove that theme from the puzzle. It's gotten beyond ridiculous how many say passed pawns that there are no passed pawns in. I don't know what the theme should be, though. I could call it hanging piece, but it wasn't really hanging, at least not to my beginner level of knowledge, so I don't know. I'm not qualified to say what the theme should be. I just know it should not have been passed pawns. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's mate, right? Oh, I guess it was. Why did I, wait, that one's rated 1300? I hesitated because I thought there was some trick or trap, but that was so obvious. Okay, mate in 1. And that leaves me time for 1 more, because that one was so fast. Let's do it. Come on along for the next puzzle. Well, we don't have a mate in 1 here. Know that. My queen is unable to go very many places. My queen is kind of stuck here. What should I do about that? And I can't take this pawn because my e-pawn is pinned by that rook, and it looks like I'm about to be in big, not very good shape. Well, I'm going to guess it's a check, because the king can't come out this way. It can't come out this way. It will have to capture my rook. Then I will check with my queen. It'll have to go either back where it is or over there, and then putting my queen on g2 will be checkmate. Very nice. I have now gone over 30 minutes. I'm glad a couple of those were pretty easy. That one is rated 1492. I'm not sure why it's rated so high, even though it has a 75% pass rate. I'm not the person that rates puzzles. I don't know how they're rated. I assume that the puzzle rating comes from how well rated the people are who pass them, but I don't know that. Thank you for watching once again. Hopefully we're all getting better together, and I'll see you next time.